Welcome back to To Be Continued. We're your hosts. I'm Riley.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Christian.
And in today's episode, we're talking about the trade deadline on the NBA. Caleb, do you want to start?
I'll start because I'm probably the one that's the most bitter here. Because I'm a Sixer fan, and I'm just dumb. Like, I'm to the point now with the Sixers where I think what the Sixers should do, they should, if they're going to keep Doc Rivers, go ahead and trade Embiid. Blow the thing up. Because what they have constructed right now will never win. And I watched that game last night, and it was so annoying because Boston didn't have Marcus Smart, didn't have Robert Williams, the Time Lord, which is like the best nickname in basketball, by the way. They didn't have Jaylen Brown for most of the game. They didn't have Al Horford. And they still beat the Sixers kind of easily, who were at full strength. And I'm watching this game, and I'm thinking, the Sixers are getting cooked on defense. Where is Matisse Thybulle, who is their best defensive player? Where is this guy? They finally bring him in with about 6 minutes to go. They're down 10 points, and they get to within 2 or 3, and Tobias Harris gets a wide-open look, and instead of shooting, he dribbles and passes into a bunch of traffic, and then Embiid has to end up taking like a whirly 3 because it's the shot clock is up. But so the Sixers brought in Thybulle, and they played this defensive lineup that did really well and closed the gap. Why does he only play for 5 minutes? He's your best defensive player. Your other, what are you guys doing? And then today they trade my guy Thybulle. And look, I know his offensive game sucks. It's non-existent. I get it. But you're also starting PJ Tucker, who has no offensive game, who's 100 years old. He's slow. What is he even doing? Like, that was the dumbest contract. I said it when they signed it. Like, if you're signing PJ Tucker for the minimum, I'm for it. But for the full mid-level thing, and you paid, and you had to get fined because you were tampering with that dude. Like, you lost second-round picks so you could get this guy. And so then when all of these like good wing players that could help the Sixers are getting traded for second-round picks, look who doesn't have second-round picks. Because you signed PJ Tucker and Danuel House, and House doesn't even play anymore. PJ Tucker shouldn't play anymore. He's terrible. And so the Sixers are they're just done. And Doc Rivers is the most overrated coach on the planet. I was listening to Van Gundy last night bloviate about what a great no, never mind. Glenn Rivers. I'm not calling him Doc again. I'm never going to use those words.
There's only one Doc in Philadelphia history.
Glenn Rivers. He was talking all about these great things that Glenn has done in his career, these great teams, these great records, all these wins. He won with the first super team. That's how he won his ring. And that's all he's ever done. And well, actually, that's not all he's ever done. Because the other thing he did is he took other borderline super teams and didn't win nothing. He had the best team in the league with the Clippers multiple times, didn't win. He had a really good team with the Sixers. He hasn't done anything with it. And the Sixers now, I'm just like, this deadline, they let it pass. They traded Thybulle for like a lesser defensive version of him, higher offensive upside, but still shoots like under 30% from 3. And what they need is somebody that can score. Because if you watch that game, the other thing that sticks out to you, the only one that should be taking shots at the end of the game, only one person, is James Harden.
Yes.
It's not Joel Embiid because he does dumb stuff late in the game. And so you got James Harden is the only one that should be taking shots. But he's trying to get everybody else involved. He needs to be the alpha. He needs to take over.
You know, I will say this. Doc Rivers, or Glenn Rivers, is an all-time great at something.
Don't use that name in front of me.
Glenn Rivers, you know what he's an all-time great at? He's the
Choking.
NBA version of Kyle Shanahan. They could have the biggest lead in history, and somehow he finds a way. You know who's blown the most 3-1 leads in NBA history?
Probably Glenn Rivers.
Glenn Rivers. He's done it with 4 different teams. The Magic back in 2002. He did it with the Celtics before he left out of there. Did it twice with the Clippers. I'm just waiting for him to do it this year with the Sixers.
And how about when losing to the Hawks was the worst one you could possibly have. And Ben Simmons took the brunt of it because of one play that probably made no difference.
It didn't.
I mean, it probably didn't even affect if they were going to win or not. They're probably still going to lose. And so they just wore out Ben Simmons to the point that dude's got mental damage. I don't know what his deal is. Of course, he also says he's still not physically healthy. He had back surgery and yada yada. Whatever excuse you want to leave. Whatever, Ben. But I'm just, man, it was such an annoying. When you see all of these major pieces moving around the board, and you see the Sixers with Jalen McDaniels, when they had Matisse Thybulle, just ride with what you got. Just put Thibault in the lineup. Put P.J. Tucker down there next to House.
You're not wrong.
It's exactly like what they did. They saw Al Horford dominate in the playoffs. He beat up Giannis. He sunned Giannis in the playoffs. When they stuck him, they put Horford on Giannis, they're like, oh, so if we got to get through the Bucks, we need Horford. And then they didn't factor in. He doesn't fit with this team at all.
Nope.
Why doesn't P.J. Tucker fit with this team? Because you've got one shooter in the lineup. One shooter, and it's James Harden. Nobody else can shoot. And you took Maxey out of the starting lineup. He's coming off the bench, and he's terrible off the bench. And the Sixers have they haven't developed anybody. My problem with McDaniels is they've got 1,000 wings just like him. He's just like Milton. He's just like Korkmaz. He's just like all these other guys that have high upside, but they can't do anything. And they really messed up. And this was I'll say this and then I'll let you guys talk because I could go on about these Sixers. The worst thing they did, other than, of course, the Markelle Fultz blunder, was Mikal Bridges. You drafted him. He was the right guy. He was a homegrown dude. His mom worked for the organization. He was exactly what you needed. You needed a 3-and-D player. You could plug him right into the starting lineup, and your team was set. You had everything you needed. But you traded him for a guy that I don't think he played a single minute in the NBA. Did he play at all?
Wait, who's this?
I don't even remember. The dude out of Texas A&M or Texas Tech.
I remember the guy, but I can't remember his
They were
name.
drawing comparisons to Kawhi Leonard, blah, 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 blah.
Him.
And the dude, oh my goodness. And he was never any good. He was hurt right away. And even if he wasn't hurt, he was still a project. And they should have known they can't develop players. They haven't developed anybody. And now Mikal Bridges was the centerpiece of the trade that got Kevin Durant into Phoenix.
Yes,
So-
sir.
Which I guess I can segue off of that is, before I get all into this, let's just say, was this easily the best NBA trade deadline ever?
It was wild.
It was most chaotic.
I was up at 1:30. I was like, nothing's going to happen. No, I looked down at Kevin Durant. I'm like, whoa. Now, here's the overreaction I've been hearing for the last 24 hours, or what is it, 15 hours since trades happened. Suns are an NBA championship team. They have this. They have that. You know what the Suns are going to be?
Injured.
The Nets. They're going to be the Nets all over again.
Have you ever seen a more injury-prone big three?
No. Ready? So here's the crazy thing. KD's hurt right now, right?
Yeah. Don't
Booker's
even know.
hurt.
I think he's still without a timetable when he's coming back.
Yes.
Like they don't even know he's going to play.
Booker's still hurt. Oh, and not to mention, CP3's healthy. You think that's going to last? Nobody does.
CP3 has been averaging 11 points, 11 rebounds, 11 points, 11 assists, and 6 turnovers, since he's come back from his injury.
Because he's come back down to earth. He's 30, what is he, 39? 30,
He's the
40?
same. He's the same age as
LeBron, 38? He's what we all expected LeBron to be at this
But he doesn't have LeBron's physical. LeBron's a physical specimen.
Yes.
In terms of size and strength, everything.
And then people are going to be like, well, maybe you can call him a big four. They have DeAndre Ayton. You mean the guy who doesn't want to be there?
Who also is hurt a lot. Who also has missed half of their games.
Who also,
He's missed a good amount
who
of
also
time.
was projected to be the next Shaq and has done almost nothing
No.
for Phoenix.
And then you got Monty Williams, and everybody wants to say he's a great head coach. He's a good head coach. Great? I'm never going to put him great. Why? Because what's been the recipe to stop Giannis his entire career? Build a wall. And this dude in the finals said, nah, we're too good for a wall. Let's just put DeAndre Ayton on him. And what happened? Giannis had one of the greatest finals we've ever seen from a superstar. What'd you think was going to happen? So my first takeaway, Suns are going to be the Nets of the West. It's pretty obvious. Second takeaway, Lakers will become instantly better after this trade deadline. Why? They got rid of Westbrook. They added good role players. D'Angelo Russell, he's not a superstar. You could argue star, but he's an above-average player that can help with the Lakers scoring. The Lakers then traded for Mo Bamba. But I'm still mad about one thing that the Lakers did. Why did we trade Thomas Bryant? He was great when AD's
They
injured.
traded their
And we
only
all
center.
know
Bamba's
AD's
better.
going to get injured again.
That's
Bamba's
their
better.
Bamba's better, but Thomas Bryant was their only center.
And you also,
He could've put him right
traded
next
for
to Bam.
Vanderbilt. You traded for Vanderbilt.
Which was also a good trade.
And
I
you
liked
also already traded for Hachimura earlier.
and Malik Beasley.
Yeah, I like what the Lakers did. I mean, I don't
like-
think it makes them. They're not going to win a championship.
I don't
but they're a
either.
much better team.
I loved
today
everything they
than
did
were
except Thomas
yesterday.
Bryant. Yes, I said this. Outside of the Anthony Davis trade, which was Rob Pelinka, this was his best trade as the Lakers GM. Next thing, Warriors will be great. I think the Warriors got themselves back to where they needed to be. They got the backup. They got the defense they needed back because we could all tell what was missing from the Warriors. It wasn't really shooting, wasn't offense. They just needed some guys that could play defense. Because everybody would say the best thing the Warriors have been since this stretch that they've been a dynasty in was offense. And I'll say, sure. But you know what the Warriors have always been great at? Defense. They've always been able to stop somebody when they need a stop. So I think they'll be back to being great. The Nets will be better than people expect. Because even though they don't have the star, they have a bunch of role players. It kind of reminds me of that 2018 Nets team prior to KD and Kyrie. The only thing they're missing is like a D'Lo, but they have Spencer Dinwiddie back. I mean, there's some pieces there that they can contend, and not to mention Cam Thomas.
Yeah, also kind of reminds me of the Suns team that actually went to the finals, right? Like you didn't have like they've got just a ton of wing depth, a ton of good wings, and I do think the Nets are going to be better than people think.
They might actually have gotten better out of this trade. But I'm still confused on why they didn't trade Kyrie and KD for more assets because they made the Kyrie trade as if they were going to keep KD and have role players around him. And then they traded KD for not a bunch of draft picks, but just role players.
I'll give you my theory. Nobody wanted Kyrie. I think they probably took the best they could get, and they didn't want him to go to L.A.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give him what he wanted, which is one piece of the puzzle. And the second piece was he had an extremely limited market because people don't want him. Because who's going to give up a lot for somebody you don't even know if he's going to show up?
So what they did is they stuck him in a franchise with another ball-dominant guard who's very good at scoring and is very much, I think, better than Kyrie. Maybe not at handles, but I think at scoring, he's better than Kyrie.
The one thing, so this leads to my next takeaway. I think the Mavs, Luka and Kyrie are going to be fun to watch. I think they will gel because as much as people want to say Kyrie is a cancer to the locker room, which he is because evidence shows it all over the place, I think he actually fits Dallas because Dallas is a small media market, and Kyrie usually trends to be good in small media markets because there's no media.
Because people aren't paying attention to him.
Yes. And with Luka, and everyone would say
The
ball
more he
dominant.
talks, the worse it is.
But here's something that gets on my nerves when we talk about the Mavs. The Kyrie trade, everyone's like, well, Luka and Kyrie is like a less athletic LeBron and Kyrie. I'm like, guys, Luka's not LeBron. You know who Luka is? He's a less athletic James Harden. Remember that James Harden from like 2016 to 2019 stretch? That's Luka. He puts up these great numbers and assists, but when he needs to make a pass at the most crucial moment, Luka won't do it. And which isn't bad because that's what we all like to see. But Luka relies a lot on penalties. And this team, they're going to score a lot of points. They're not going to stop anybody. There's
It's
nobody that can
interesting
play defense.
you bring that up because this team actually, like this move and this backcourt pairing actually reminds me of that Rockets team with James Harden and CP3, and then you had James Harden and Westbrook. And how's this going to work? Well, in the end, it kind of didn't. I mean, it would have. I still say if Chris Paul hadn't gotten hurt,
They would have beat the Warriors.
they would have beat the Warriors that year, and everything would have changed. The whole narrative around James Harden, everything would be different. But Chris Paul got hurt, and whatever. So
And then you have the Timberwolves, and everybody's like, why would they trade D'Lo? Because D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, and everybody there didn't fit. So after the Timberwolves made that stupid trade in the offseason to get Rudy Gobert, they had to make sure their investment was worth it. So what they do? They went and got somebody that can mesh with this team and develop them. Mike Conley, genius. Pistons, I love what they did. Getting James Wiseman, Cade Cunningham and James Wiseman could be a great duo for years to come when they're healthy. Problem is neither of them have been healthy.
and Duran's pretty good too. What was he, like the fourth or so pick this year?
Yeah.
So I mean, again, that's kind of another big, and the only thing I kind of worry about that situation is a little bit of the Sixers, Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, Joel Embiid situation. But
And then my preseason thing. Remember when I told you the Jazz were going to be good? Why did they throw in the towel? I mean, yeah, they've been on a little bit of a losing skid, but they've been good for most of the year.
it's time to see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Mike Conley's not your future.
I
Mike
know that, but Westbrook?
I think.
They're going to buy him out.
Okay, listen. I think Westbrook can fit with this team.
They're going to buy him out.
No,
He's
they
gonna
just
walk.
took his
He's gonna
money.
be a
That's
Clipper.
all.
He's going to be a Clipper.
They wanted the picks.
He's gonna
I
be a
mean,
Clipper.
I don't know because Westbrook. I don't think Westbrook is done. I think he went to the Lakers. That
No,
was a
he's gonna be
very
fine.
bad decision. I think that he should not have fit with the Lakers, and he didn't fit with the Lakers. But now he's on the Jazz, where he's the only. Him and Jordan Clarkson run the front court together. Jordan Clarkson isn't really a ball dominant guard. Westbrook is. They can run a good defense with what is his name? I can't remember that forward's name.
On the
From the Jazz, he came from the Bulls, or he didn't come from the Bulls, but he's drafted by the Bulls.
Markkanen.
Markkanen. them and Lauri Markkanen are going to make a great defensive offensive trio, and I think that the Jazz can really shine.
Nah, Westbrook's out, though.
Westbrook won't be there because
Yeah, I don't
Westbrook wants to be on a
think they're
contending
gonna keep him
team.
out. I think they've already said they're going to.
Yeah, they're going to buy him out
right?
because they
Like
don't want
those-
him on the cap numbers.
But they also want to see what they got with Colin Sexton too.
That's true,
They,
they did
want
get Colin
Colin Sexton
Sexton
to run the point and see like, okay, is this a building block or is this not?
Caleb, maybe that fantasy pick's finally going to pay off.
It is. He had 22 points last night,
And then the Nuggets.
4 threes.
Can we get into the Nuggets?
They
What are
gave
you
away
doing?
Bones. There's something more to that.
That's
They didn't want him for some reason.
but he's been good for him. He's a good 3-point shooter. And the only other trade they made was for a backup center.
I think he's
You don't
plays
get-
lousy defense.
They barely played him. And the Clippers now, all the Clippers need is another shooter. I mean, and they got him. They got Highland. So the Clippers are healthy.
They got Eric Gordon.
And they got Eric Gordon. I mean, the Clippers made some good moves, and the Clippers. I feel so bad for John Wall. After he came out, he bashed the Rockets organization. He's like, I couldn't stand it. That was the low point of my career. What did the Clippers do?
Trade him right back. But they're going to waive him anyway. He's going to go wherever he wants.
Yeah, that's true. And Westbrook will be a Clipper. I think it's pretty much
He might be the Lakers' backup point guard.
who
Wall.
Wall,
He might sit down there towards the end of the bench and
replacement of the sixth man.
play every once in a while.
But yeah, I mean,
No, that's probably who the Sixers will get. The Sixers like to get these dudes that are completely washed up on the buyout market, so it would make sense.
hey, maybe you guys signed DeMarcus Cousins.
I think they should sign DeMarcus Cousins.
I would love that.
Or my guy Hassan Whiteside. He's sitting out there. All you need as a backup is somebody that can pull down rebounds and like be a big body, play a little bit of defense.
Dwight Howard still out there.
Whiteside can do that
How is Dwight Howard not signed, by the way?
because he's playing over
he's
in
playing in
Japan
Taiwan?
or Taiwan
They
or
can still
wherever.
sign him.
He's probably not going to want to come back.
Yeah, true. He is like the Michael Jordan over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But anyway, yeah, the crazy deadline. Riley, you can go ahead.
not to mention that New Orleans also got Josh Richardson to fill out their rotation players because he's not going to start. There's no way that he starts on that roster.
He
That
sucks.
roster's good. He does suck, but I also think he's a good role player. I think he's
On the
great.
Sixers, I hated.
I
that
think he's
man.
great to come off the bench, and I mean, he got injured, and nobody really knew where he went until he showed up on the Spurs.
You know what was the greatest free agency in Sixers history? When they signed Josh Richardson, Tobias Harrison, and Al Horford. I mean, I think that needs to go down in history as the greatest free agency in NBA history. I mean, that was a great, great thing. And by the way, great job, Ben Simmons. I think Caleb forgot to point this out. Great job by Ben Simmons and Brett Brown choosing Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Geniuses.
Yeah. Speaking of Jimmy Butler, the Heat traded away Dwayne Dedman, who was their backup center, which I mean, great, he's gone, but they didn't get anything for him. They got cash. That was it. So like, it's weird that they gave up a 2028 second round pick and Dwayne Dedman for cash, and that's it. So they kind of got rid of their backup center for Bam Adebayo, who I mean is a solid center, but he's not like a star in Miami. Then we got the Grizzlies. Let's touch on the Grizzlies because John Morant is really getting himself in a very bad spot.
He's a tool.
He's putting himself. He's started in the projects in a very rough like neighborhood, but he made it out into the NBA, and he's still sticking with his friends from back then. And now they're pointing guns at other NBA teams. There's no way that he stays in the NBA if something happens.
Shannon Sharp was genius with what he said the other day. What are you doing, man? You're throwing your whole career out there. Shannon said you had Hall of Fame potential. I mean, sure, I see more like Derrick Rose. You're going to have an injury here in the next couple of years. It's just, I don't wish injury
that's
on anybody.
dark.
I don't wish it. But
No.
can you name one physical specimen like this that doesn't get hurt from an ACL? I'm waiting. It doesn't.
AI.
AI. Hey, John
Kobe.
Morant's not Allen Iverson.
Kobe.
Kobe. He's
said
6'5".
physical
I'm saying
specimen.
6 foot, like 6'1", 6 foot,
Okay. AI.
bulkier, and jumps.
They
AI
run.
had a jump shot to him. Ja doesn't really have a jump. He's all right. He's all right.
Ja's a baller. I can't hate on Ja's game.
He is when he's on the court. That Grizzlies team looks really
He
good.
talks
But
better trash.
I would have
He plays
taken
basketball.
Ja. I would have taken Ja over Zion Williamson.
You're crazy.
I said that at the draft. I still stand by it.
When Zion's
He's gonna have a much
skill
better
wise,
career.
I agree with Caleb. But what John Moran's doing right now, he's really looking to throw his career away. Because I mean, if you have pace or security saying that it was a gun, the next time there's an incident that involves you, you're gonna get investigated. He's definitely getting investigated right now, and nobody knows about it.
Yeah, because what do you do? I mean, what did you think a red dart on somebody's chest was going to?
You know what
Exactly.
it is? The whole Memphis team is a bunch of fake tough guys.
Shannon Sharp was going to be able to beat all of them except Steven Adams. Steven Adams. is the
Steven
only guy-
Adams is a big man.
I love Steven Adams. He's the only guy on the team I like.
Honestly, I think they're kind of leaderless when Steve Adams is not on the court. I think they need somebody there that
Yeah.
they could use a good veteran presence that's going to be vocal.
Man, maybe they should fire their head coach and hire Shannon Sharp as the head coach. Maybe.
Now they should hire Glenn Rivers. They should trade whatever it takes to get him.
Hey, maybe they should give you guys the
Couple seconds.
Sean
That's all.
Payton. Sean Payton trade.
Just a couple seconds. That's all we need.
20,
Give
30
them
free.
back. Give those two back we lost.
I think that a team that may or may not have won this was is the Knicks. No, Portland Trailblazers. I'm thinking they kind of filled out rotation. They got who did they pull in?
They got Cam Reddish.
They got my boy Matisse
They pulled in Cam Reddish.
Thibault was a good pickup.
Matisse.
Yep, they pulled in Thibault.
Kevin
So
Knox.
Thibault's going to start probably going to start next to Damian Lillard. But then they got these people who also fill out their roster, and they got Cam Reddish, who might start at small forward because Portland has just been Damian Lillard for the past few years. Oh, and Nurkic. But they've been just those two for
Jeremy
the last
Grant's
few years.
been pretty good.
The problem with the Trailblazers is you look at them, and sure, did they get better? A little bit. But you look at the teams in the West, are they a top 10 team in the West?
No.
In the West,
No.
no. On the books, no. But we've talked about it. Suns are going to fall off. Warriors may or may not come back, but I don't see the Warriors' defense coming back because Draymond Green is not Draymond Green.
Suns won't fall back.
And
They'll-
Klay Thompson is
Klay Thompson
not a
is not.
defender
Yeah,
anymore.
Klay Thompson is a defender. I mean, he's putting up numbers now, but he's not a defender anymore.
Offensive.
Yeah, offensively, he's putting up numbers. And then I think the Lakers are the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets are like the really big teams, and maybe the Rockets now if John Wall can stay healthy.
The one thing with the Lakers is, as good as the roster improvements they've made, they have the hardest remaining schedule in the league, and they're already at 30 losses,
Yeah.
which is going to make it difficult for them to get into the playoffs. But the great thing about the NBA is, if your team's good enough, you will win a 7-game series.
Yeah.
The one team, I mean, the team that I think will be the biggest competition, and we've hated on it, I think that the Mavericks are going to be the biggest competition because, I mean, all these people just came over from the East. The only main star in the East anymore is Giannis. I mean, you got Joel Embiid, you got Jimmy Butler, but the
The guy
East
that's
is
been robbed of the MVP for the last 2 years.
the East is open. Like, I mean, there's nobody
Tatum.
really to fight. Oh yeah, they got Jason Tatum, and I mean, like the Celtics, the Bucks, and like the Heat are really the top 3 teams in that conference now because every other team kind of
Cleveland?
got stripped. Cleveland, oh yeah, with Donovan Mitchell, yeah, I think.
Darius Garland.
I think Cleveland could be it too. But I mean, those are your top 4. Fifth, I would say the Sixers. So there's your top 5 right there. But I mean, the East is so open right now, and the West is so compacted with just stars.
It's back to what the West is
Sixers
supposed to
have the number 2 record.
Yeah,
right?
right. They're
Yeah.
top 5,
I think
that's all.
it's
Yeah, but I mean, with
Celtics then Sixers.
With Jimmy Thibault, there goes 5 minutes of at least a good team.
What's weird is that the Nets had the 4th best record in the league,
Which is why I'm saying they're still going to make the playoffs.
and they were still playing.
I can still see them
well
making the
without
playoffs,
Kevin
but I
Durant.
think once you get to the
They
playoffs,
won't win a series.
Yeah, I don't think they're
but
winning a series once they get to the
They're
playoffs.
going to be more competitive than people think. They might.
think they'll be
actually-
competitive, but there's not-
It depends on who they get. I could see them winning a series if they get somebody like Toronto.
But I see them going to the playoffs because there's nobody in the East anymore. The East is open now.
It's back to what the East was under LeBron.
Exactly. It's so open. There's no like there's one. I mean, there's going to be competition between the teams, but I think the one team that I have favoring to go to the championship now to win is the Bucks.
So that's what we'll do now. After the deadline, who you guys going to the finals?
East is easily Bucks. I think they're just taking it. There's not much defense who's going to stop Giannis, and even if you do, you got Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
So, and then the West is tough, but I think I want to say the Warriors, but that's just because I'm a Warriors fan. But like, I mean, the team they're struggling, but we've seen it before. They struggle in the regular season. Once they touch the playoffs, they don't really struggle much anymore. So, I mean, who knows? You never want to doubt them out. But if Curry can't stay healthy because he's already been injured twice this season, it might not happen. So, who knows? But that team's been playing solid without Curry. They have Klay Thompson who just dropped, I think, 46 the other night. So, I mean, there's that team. Then there's the Mavericks. Then you have the Clippers. Then you have the Lakers. But, like, I think maybe overall, maybe right now the Clippers just because they filled out their roster.
I could see that. The only thing with the Clippers is they got to stay healthy, and you can never trust Kawhi.
And you can't trust Paul George either.
Well, he's only playing 20 minutes every other day, so if he's not healthy for the playoffs, they should get rid of that dude.
So you got for the finals? I know it's
As
not
much as it pains me to say this, I would probably say Celtics Clippers.
I have Celtics as well.
Now look, there's probably a move out there that if the right guy falls into the Sixers' lap, like the Sixers could win a series against any of those teams. They could beat the Bucks. They could beat the Celtics. The talent-wise and man for man, they could beat any team out there because they've got the best player in the East, and that's Joel Embiid. He is. He's the best player in the East. And they might have the best scorer in the East. but he's busy facilitating, whatever. So, but I don't think they will win because they've got Glenn Rivers. So,
I'm sorry. Let me just preference this. Embiid is not the best player.
watch it. You're about to say some blasphemy.
He's the best center.
No, he's the
in
best
East.
player.
He's the third.
He's the back-to-back
He's
MVP.
the second best
He's
player.
the people's MVP, the one that rightfully earned it on the
Giannis should have
court.
won MVP last year.
No
Giannis
way.
deserved MVP
No, get
last
out of here. Giannis is an absolute fraud
How many championships Embiid got?
because Giannis had a stacked team.
Who's he got?
Chris Middleton is better than any shooter that Embiid has ever played with, other than maybe James.
Riley,
Harden.
if I was going to say, would you rather have James Harden or Chris Middleton?
Okay, I would have James Harden, but other
Would
than
you
Chris
rather have
Middleton.
Tyrese Maxey or
before
Drew
this year,
Holiday?
they only had Drew Holiday. Easy. He's a great defender that can shoot the three and can distribute.
He's
and play-
great when he's
a-
the third star or something. The second, but they're,
yeah, which is what the Sixers need.
last year he was a second star. They got all the. They almost beat the Celtics with him as a second star because Middleton's hurt.
Yeah, because he's better than anybody that Embiid has played with outside of Harden.
Giannis is the best
Brook
player
Lopez.
in basketball, and it's not even
Another
close.
gr-
But can we
No,
bring?
stop it.
Can we
Stop
bring
it.
up another point though?
This is ridiculous.
I'm
This is
tired of
ludicrous.
hearing all the.
You're just
hate-
an ESPN fanboy.
Wait, ready? Here's the other thing. I'm tired of hearing about Jokic. He sucks. Nothing about Jokic is impressive to me.
He is
Every
an absolute
time
fraud.
I watch him, he doesn't show up.
He got sunned by Embiid.
Thank you.
The
He
best player in
doesn't
the game.
do anything. All he does is pass. And I hate to tell people, passing for a center is not impressive. I want you to get in the post and do a hook shot. Get rebounds, play defense, block shots.
Go man to man with Embiid, outscore him, shut him
He
down.
reminds me of the last year that Russell Westbrook was in OKC, where he's stat padding a lot to get his numbers up.
Yes.
Jokic can put the numbers up.
Yes,
I mean we've
because
seen
he's
it.
playing by himself.
He's
Like,
playing by himself. There's
He's
nobody
playing
on that
point
Nuggets
center.
team that I can think of that's actually like, oh wow, he's good. Like
I got a
it's-
bunch
it's
of
Jokic.
mediocre players.
Like Jokic is
why
good to
they
put up
can't
the
win the
stats,
playoffs.
but when it comes down to the playoffs, he can't win a meaningful game because stats aren't going to win you the game.
And Jamal Murray got hurt.
You know what's crazy though? As much as I always dog on DeAndre Ayton's defense, somehow he always finds a way to shut down Jokic. Isn't that weird? Like a guy that can't play defense gets shut down
Jokic shines against like mediocre big man teams.
because he's a mediocre big man.
He's a mediocre. I think he's a mediocre big man once you break him down. But like what people who don't watch don't focus on
They
like
look at
actual
numbers.
they look at the
Yeah.
numbers or they look at him, they're like, oh, he could pass really cool, so obviously he's got to be a good player. Well, sure, he's a good center when you want him to pass, but I'm not going to start him in playoffs because
Yeah,
I don't need a center to pass.
A center that can pass is not going to be the difference between winning and losing a big game.
Yeah,
So
especially when you have nobody to pass to.
Yeah.
I will still have Celtics winning the East just because I think they have the best roster from start to bottom. But hey, Nets, if you cut Ben Simmons, can you try and edge him into Boston? I heard he's great at destroying locker rooms. So let's get him to Boston, please.
Now Ben Simmons is about to take over that team.
I really think he will too. I think now that he's by himself.
Do you remember when the Sixers had like everybody hurt and Ben Simmons dropped like 40-point triple doubles?
Wasn't on a
Like I think
Jazz?
that could legitimately happen. Yeah, because it was because they were like calling him a fraud because they thought Donovan Mitchell should have won the MVP because Ben Simmons.
Oh,
sat out
rookie-
that
yeah,
first
yeah, that
year.
rookie-
Yeah, rookie of the year. Yeah,
Hey, Ben Simmons might win Rookie of the Year this year. You never know.
But
yeah, I don't think so.
I think what I'm really surprised with is Donovan Mitchell's ability to show up in this season. I mean,
you got the team around.
I've been talking about it, and I love Donovan Mitchell. You guys have talked that you don't like him or that he's a fraud, but he has shown up in Cleveland.
I like Mitchell.
Caleb mainly, but he's shown up in Cleveland and he has taken over Cleveland. It is ridiculous.
I wouldn't say he's taking. I mean, that team.
I mean, he is a team. He has two top 20 big
Evan
men.
Mobley.
Yeah.
Their team's so good. Kevin Love doesn't even play in a rotation.
They're not a
anymore.
real
Kevin Love shouldn't
contender.
play in any rotation anyway. He's 40 years old.
They're not a
He
real
can still shoot.
contender.
I don't think
They're
they're,
like
a
the
contender
seventh
either.
or eighth
the only
best team.
the only player that's ever made Cleveland a contender is LeBron James. But anyway,
Yeah.
coming out of the West versus Celtics,
You're gonna say LeBron, aren't you?
I'm not. I can't. There's you can't trust Anthony Davis.
True,
And you
that
can,
is the key.
And here's the other, before I make my case about the West, LeBron, look, man, look. Congratulations on the record. You didn't need to stop the game for 20 minutes for a little record. You didn't win the championship.
Kind of made it seem like he's more about that record than about the team's win-loss record.
And you know,
Even
everybody.
like when he was throwing a fit because he got hit in the hand because he didn't get anywhere
Well, that
closer to
was
the
a
record.
foul.
That was a
No,
foul.
that was
That was a foul. I
that
agree.
was a blatant
No,
foul.
that was a
and
foul.
it cost
I
the
agree.
Lakers a win.
Thank
that
I
they
agree.
deserved.
I agree. But also, it's the regular season. It's not playoffs. The game doesn't really matter, and you're going to roll around on the floor and cry about
But
it.
the Lakers are because they had the hardest remaining schedule. Every game matters.
I agree with you.
Which is why he was so. And how rare is it LeBron doesn't think, he just goes and he drives to the bucket, and he got blatantly fouled. I mean, his wrist was taken off, and there was no foul.
But that game is not going to. That's not
dunked.
that game.
over 3 people,
Yeah, he's done
Sure,
it
he's
before.
Bron.
he's 38.
He's done it before. But that game, sure, if you look at it, once it comes down to the end of the season, maybe I'll eat these words, but like it's not going to bring you from one record or one standing to the next standing. Like that one, Braun is he just amazing, and that game is not going to bring you one standing difference. But the West is so tight right now that you're the Lakers being one of the better teams in the West are probably going to be in the playoffs no matter what. Because the West, as the last time I looked, the top of the West or the bottom of the West was only like
They're all
4.5 games behind. So
The difference, what it could be, is them playing in the play-in or just making the playoffs. And that's big for rest, especially with an older team. But coming out of the West, I'll struggle with this, but I think I'm going to go with the Clippers. I don't want it to be the Clippers. I can't stand that team. But as long as it's not the Grizzlies, I'll be even happier. So I'll go Clippers.
I don't think it's the
If they're healthy. If it's not them, LeBron still always has an outside chance, but I don't think at 38 you can carry a team to the finals.
I think both sides are wide open, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's.
I agree. I
separated
think
themselves on either
I
side.
think they're both wide open for different reasons. I think the East is wide open because there's not really a big team in the East anymore.
Yeah, I disagree.
Kind of like the NFL.
But the West I think is so open because, like I said, the bottom of the West, the last team in the West is 4.5 games behind the top.
So the difference right now, in the West, you have a bunch of good players / head coaches. In the East, you have some good players, and you have not really one great head coach. I mean, Budenholzer maybe.
I think you got some. There's a lot of teams in the East that I think you're sleeping on that have a lot of talent.
Jimmy Butler isn't good enough to carry a team to a championship outside of the bubble. Let's
No.
call a spade a spade.
No, but it's not like
I think
the Sixers have a lot of talent.
I think the 5 teams.
The Celtics have a lot of talent.
The problem with the
Milwaukee has a lot of
Sixers-
talent, and talent-wise, they stack up with those teams in the West.
The problem with the
All of them.
Sixers is you can't trust on Embiid and Harden in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, you can.
What name
You can
one
trust
playoff
Embiid.
game? Embiid, you can't trust him to be healthy.
Sure, you can.
He'll just have hurt knee cartilage
Yeah,
right when
and
you need
he's
him at the
gonna keep
most.
balling, isn't he? He's going to show up and give you 30 and
I
10.
hope you're right. I would love the Sixers to make the finals, but I just don't.
I'm
see
not
them.
saying they're going to make the finals. I'm just saying that they're as talented as any team in the West.
I'll get
Like nobody in the West is like heads and
I
shoulders
can
better.
I can see that, but I also
It's
think
not like
that's
KD Warriors.
I also think that's
stuff.
because
Yes.
every team in the West has a big name on it. But not every team in the East does not have a big name on it. There's only the top 5 that I mentioned that have a really big name on it.
Oh, Cam Thomas might be the best player in basketball.
But like,
I thought it was Giannis.
I don't know. Cam Thomas have the back 40-point games.
Joel Embiid.
It's Giannis. Talk to me when Embiid makes the conference championship. Anyway, you can go
didn't
ahead
you?
and close this up.
No, that was right before the conference when Kawhi hit that buzzer beater on him.
Where he traveled, but we won't bring that part up.
All right. Until next time.
To be continued.